to Mr. Cook with East News Online, which has fielded questions from citizens. We've categorized those. We've removed live but also monitored what we've asked, and they're going to weed those out and ask any additional questions.
I appreciate the
Thank you, sir.
opportunity. Yeah, I've received over the last 10 days or 2 weeks dozens and dozens of questions that citizens are interested in you answering.
Did you get mine?
I got yours, and I took them out immediately. Appreciate you putting your email address on there. I've been trying to, many of the questions that the council has asked, the citizens have, they'll be redundant questions, so I'm down to a number. I'm only going to ask 4 or 5 questions. I thought this was a very interesting question. It's a statement followed by a couple of questions. This woman wrote, "My husband and I are young professionals who relocated to the Chattanooga area from Colorado. We moved here for the access to outdoors and affordability. With the cost of homes in Chattanooga proper and in the hip neighborhoods on the rise, we decided to purchase our first home in East Ridge instead in November of 2017. Although we love our house and our quiet neighborhood, we would love to see more amenities, local businesses, and walkability." I'm sure she's referring to pedestrian-friendly stuff. "It's frustrating to see all the new development go to Exit 1 and Camp Jordan Arena and not see much of that development promoting local business owners. As the new city manager, how do you plan to promote growth of small local businesses and overall better walkability of our neighborhoods?" And the second part of the question is, what is your long-term vision? I'll repeat some of this if you want to. What is your long-term vision for the Ringgold Road corridor from Max Smith to the tunnels? So the first part is, how do you plan to promote growth of small local businesses and overall better walkability of our neighborhoods?
2 parts that come to mind. The current themes that you're seeing in modern urban planning now are pedestrian-friendly, bicycle-friendly, and it's turning out that they're doing it as a matter of necessity in more urbanized areas because of the demands for vehicles. Traffic is too heavy. I hope to be able to ride a bike or roller skate to work if I'm successful here. And so those kind of amenities, I think, are infrastructure that are important for the growth. Our growth is really going to be focused on redevelopment in a lot of ways. We're not built out as a city yet, but there's a lot of aging infrastructure and there's a whole lot of aging housing stock and commercial facilities. So when those folks move from Colorado, somewhat of a progressive, don't know where in Colorado, but certainly a progressive state in a lot of ways. I think they recognize the progression of progressivity that is going on in East Ridge. And I believe that may be one of the trends that these young professionals are looking at. So in the mode of infrastructures or the amenities, you've got Jordan Park, which I walked around yesterday and saw snake, and a couple of pit bulls. So, and they were friendly.
Is he fine?
But those amenities, yes, but that's where they were at. So I think that one of the things that I have to talk to them about is, we've got to start someplace. This is a stepping stone. This was the first spot, and it was made possible by the border region types of funding that became available. We didn't have means to incentivize a lot of the folks that are going to be coming there. But it is one spot. So now to go to the second part of the first part of the question, your local businesses here are your lifeblood. They have invested more into the community, and a lot of them will have threats when you see a Super Walmart show up, when you see these large box store shows up. They will affect your local businesses one way or the other. And I have seen the downside. Is it an improvement in a shopping experience? Is it more efficient to be able to go to one of those boxes and be able to get things you need and then get out? Or is it selling our soul, so to speak, so that mom and pops, the small lifeblood of the communities, are going to see their doors closed up, or they're going to suffer a type of predatory competition that is prevalent when you try to strike that balance. So it's about job and business retention. You know, what are we doing for our local businesses to make certain that they can keep their doors open? And for the most part, what are we doing that's hurting them? Let's not do the things that are going to hurt our local businesses. If taxes is one of them, obviously. If we start putting adverse or arcane type of building requirements for occupancies, you're going to have issues. So sustaining those businesses and giving those the opportunity to be successful and stay in the community, keep their taxes low, provide amenities within that redevelopment area. And you asked about the corridor. I have a deja vu moment as I was driving down. There is, I guess, one of the first strip centers in Tennessee. I was driving east to west, and it's almost like I had seen the grocery store and all that in the past. Throw it back to the 60s, I don't know what happened, but it was truly deja vu. So what did I like to see there? I like the fact that you still have some of the architecture that is available to you. And it's dated in its 50s. It's not South Beach, Florida by any chance, but it has an appeal to it. And I think that is one of the things you could focus on is incentivizing if they're going to invest to keep that architecture in place and still have these centers that are community related or neighborhood related. I think that's a reasonable consideration to be given for tax incentives or building incentives. But I think those amenities should be extended to them about the bicycle and the walking trails. These pedestrian-friendly communities are going to be an essential part as our population centers grow. And you're going to grow. East Ridge is going to see a population change. You're going to see a demographic change. I think it's essential you start looking at what your community is now and what you want it to be, not 5 years. I say this almost every place I go. Y'all need to be looking at 30 and 50 years. Got one project on the table with the exit one, and that's fine. But look at the rest of the community. The places you described in the corridor, what are they going to look like in 30 to 50 years if we don't do something with them now, addressing the local property owners, or addressing the local business. I always advocate looking further into the future. You may be wrong, but sometimes the wrong decision is better than no decision at all. Good, I think I addressed 3 parts.
You did well. Have you done any sort of a deep dive on the Board of Region Act?
Yes.
What are your ideas to help East Ridge maximize the value from that Board of Region Act?
But first thing, I want to talk to a lawyer. Make sure I understand the terms and conditions that we are being bound to. There's some language in it that struck me as a little ambiguity, and I'm sure that that is something that someone who is more familiar with what the intended purposes are that, in my mind, seem to be in conflict with what I'm reading in one section as opposed to the other. It's not that long, so I read it a few times to make certain I've had it. How it came about would be an interesting study. How do we get from A to B just by background of the border? Well, that's good enough for me. The other piece of that for me is we're landlocked. We are essentially an enclave to Chattanooga. So did that come about by having some economic opportunity that was brought to us to kind of offset the ability for us to expand our boundaries and by annexation because of the enclave created by Chattanooga and Georgia being surroundings? Don't know. So the deep dive, I still have questions on it. Relative to the project though, it's here. There's not, listen, that building is up and there are others coming and we need to optimize it while we can. Because I was just talking to Mr. Custer about, commissioners, when I say look 30, 50 years down the road, I often have to say it with this, be careful what you ask for. Make certain that what we're doing today as a local government entity, that you can sustain 50 years from now. And very often it happens where, I'll use Henry County as an example. Under SPLOST, which Custer know about, they built 6 firehouses. And I got there and recognized, oh, you didn't account for these houses when they were built, staffing. Do you want a fire truck in there? 3 fire trucks? We forgot to look at what the implications were of those costs when we got this grant money, or since it's SPOS money, to build these wonderful parks. We didn't think of what it's gonna take to maintain them, to replace them, to do all those things. So in the deep dive, as you put it, Mr. Cook, it's sustainability is what I'm gonna be looking for and what I want to bring to them. And it does take a long review. Y'all have to make some commitments that are gonna be difficult to make sure that we're capturing a view and a vision that your community can accept and will be beneficial long after we've gone on to the great hunting grounds.
You mentioned your drive from east to west down the commercial corridor,
Yes, sir.
or excuse me, yeah, east to west?
Yes, sir. I came back, so.
Oh, okay. What are the solutions, and I'm sure that you noticed in the Osborne Shopping Center, which is the oldest mall in the world, what are the solutions for our city to tackle the blight of poverty, the drug problem, the infrastructure of Ringgold Road looking like it's still in the 50s with the light, the exposed light poles and the lines, abandoned storefronts, and et cetera?
You hit me in a couple of personal areas there. I called it earlier in a public setting, and we have a monster, and it's here in East Ridge with a substance abuse issue. If the demographics of statistics are correct, then the distribution of substance abuse being homogeneous in the population suggests there's a certain number that will be working here. And we don't have everything in place, and HR doesn't have the latitude that I've given to every HR department I've been in to go beyond the county administrator or city manager to ensure that those substance abuse questions are dealt with confidentially and as safely as we can as a public employee. So dealt with the monster in a personal plea there. That piece that you were talking about, driving through, that's where I had the deja of rotten moments. The things that you didn't mention are the scary things. It's what's under the sidewalk and the roads. Those pipes that are there, that road that is there, those things need to be evaluated, as I had mentioned earlier, in terms of making certain we've got the infrastructure that will support that area 25, 30, 50 years down the road. And I got out and kicked a hydrant and looked around. Hydrants are kind of my funny thing to look at, but does it still have a charm to it? And is that charm worth what it's going to take to bring it back? The community itself, and what I call the East Ridge community, in my resume, there's a lot of beloved characters and a lot of beloved places here. Can that architecture be brought back up in such a way that it is the highest and best use of structure? Are the dollars used to make that investment in those properties going to be worthwhile once you build it? If you've got a $10,000 building and you're going to spend $20,000 and it's still only going to be worth $10,000 because of where it's at, or the pipes that are hooked to it, or the electricals hooked to it, it's a bad investment. So turning that investment equation around is the key to all redevelopment. First for us, it would be getting the infrastructure straight. Second would be having the incentives that are available to make that investment worthy property. Then you've got the increases. Again, looking back at the infrastructure that was for it, that road has got to be at a level service C or D. And in inclement weather, I can see it being a nightmare, which means your sidewalks are a difficulty. It's not a safe place to be. So with those, it's a global picture. There's a lot more gifted people in planning who can tell us what are the things that are most likely going to work for East Ridge in that location. These are the things that I bring to the job, which has been beneficial to me because I started from scratch. What's under the ground? What's in the air? How can we get the investors here to improve these properties?
Your experience in public life, city manager, city administrators, have been in Georgia and Florida, correct?
Yes.
Have you worked in Tennessee before?
No. Not in the public service.
Okay. If this was a question, and this you touched on it previously, Are you familiar with the Tennessee Open Records Act? Can you briefly explain the general rules of that law? You may not be.
I am. And every state has them. They're called different things in different places. In Florida, it's called the Sunshine Law. There's one of the counties is called the Noose Trend. It was named after a person, not a noose trend. The disclosure aspects of open records are sacred to you. You can compel any public records available unless it's been sealed by some court order. And I think that's what we should abide by. If we try to hide something, I'd like to think I could lie my way out of stuff. My memory's not that good, and I just decided early on it's not. It always comes back and gets you. So why not go ahead and put the record out there and make those open records more accessible and available and easier to get to? It can be expensive. You have to have computer resources to make storage and retrieval of them there. But that's the nature of the work. It's the law now. We have to be able to account for the public records that we have to maintain. We're going to have to convert some of our older records to digitized records so that we can have them in perpetuity as we're required to do. So overall, the public records has done more for local government, has been fodder, but Florida was one of the benchmarks because we really deserve a bad reputation of doing things behind closed doors.
Do I have time for a couple more questions? One more?
One more. Yes, two more.
If I'm not mistaken, the city of East Ridge does not have yearly performance reviews of its employees. I think it's been our custom to give an across-the-board raise each year. If you get this job, will you institute yearly performance reviews for employees?
Short answer is yes.
One last one? A biggie?
I need to put something on the front end of that. It's not just performance reviews. That's the part that's one-sided. We really do have to put the performance measures out there that are appropriate for the position. And that's where we completely miss the boat a lot of times. You can spend a lot of money on getting these things done. Your job descriptions, getting those updated so that they can anticipate that someone can grow into a job or go to the next thing, if you will. So the performance measures and the performance indices that tie back to performance evaluations, if you will, are an essential part. How do I know I'm doing good? Y'all come meet together a few times, we'll do these. Staff will do one on me. I do one outside of the agency. It's called a 360. My 360s due again this year. It ought to be a lot. So that's through ICMA. Those kinds of reviews, people don't like doing. They're time consuming, but they've always been very rewarding to me and put me in a position to be able to save employees in some cases and then advance employees in some cases.
Final question, Mayor.
Is it quick?
Yes, it is.
Well, the question will be quick.
Proceed.
What are the strengths you bring to the position of city manager that would make you the best candidate for East Ridge?
I only know one of the other candidates. I'm sure, and I've already said, you've got a good feel of candidates. Y'all can be the city manager out of this, I clearly believe. One of them I hired and trained in their first public assignment. So I'm pleased about that. So to tie that back into it, I think the biggest thing I bring is recruiting competencies within the organization. And I hope that applies to our reciprocal relationship. You will help me improve my competencies. I believe I can help you improve your competencies and competencies in local government. And that's what I want for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner.
One more question?
One more question, Mayor? No, I'm done. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. I'm sure the citizens appreciate it.
I didn't want to have to set you down, but anyway, thank you, Mr. Bonner. I will let you close with any closing statement if you'd like to.
Okay. give an open mic to a guy like me. Yeah, council, of course, not sincere, and I think it's not often enough I get to share my views on local government, as limited as they may be. But I had a captive audience, and I think that you can get a characterization that where local government's going to go. Y'all are looking ahead. I want you to look further. So, in that regard, I am pleased to have been here. I'm complimented that y'all thought enough to bring me up here, and I look forward to seeing great things. See you next year. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm going to ease on.
Yes, sir, you may. So we will take a very brief recess. We don't see any assistant city manager. And we'll be back just in a couple of minutes. I apologize, we will try to hurry through the rest of the agenda and